Minister needs to get with the programme. The fact is the Planning Minister has met the Treasury Minister and that tax has been shelved. Let's take another example of a simple reform that's being dropped. The government promised at the last election tougher sentences for those who assault public servants. Can the Prime Minister tell us why the government neutered the bill to bring that about in law?
We don't neuter any proposals at all to make... No, we do not. There should be the strongest possible penalties for people who assault public servants. And let me just remind the right honourable gentleman that when we introduced tougher penalties in the Criminal Justice Act of 2003, he voted against it.
Did a tougher penalty in law and he neutered the bill. There's a clear pattern here. Police mergers dropped, ID cards dropped, home information packs dropped, planning reforms dropped, laws to protect public servants dropped. Given this government's complete inability to implement its programme, how can he possibly believe that the right thing to do is put the Deputy Prime Minister in charge of the country?
Well, let me just explain to him, we most certainly are not dropping proposals for identity cards or tougher penalties for public services or planning reforms. And if we want to talk about policy making, I've calculated he's had 4 policies since becoming Leader of the Opposition. The first was a new British Bill of Rights, denounced by the Chairman of his Democracy Commission as a nonsense. The second was English votes for English MPs, described as a constitutional abortion by his senior backbench MP. Then his law and order policy, hug a hoodie, we've not heard much about that. And finally his flagship European policy, leaving the European People's Party. First it was to be done immediately, then within months, now not till 2009. So before he criticises our policy-making skills, he should acquire some of his own.
These sessions are about the Prime Minister answering questions on behalf of the government. I know he doesn't like being interrogated, but with the way things are going at Scotland Yard, he better get used to it. Mr. Speaker, for the purposes of the tape, I'm interviewing the Prime Minister. Doesn't this complete lack of judgment and trusting the Deputy Prime Minister shows that it's high time he and his deputy saddled up and rode off into the sunset?
Mr. Speaker, I notice he didn't want to ask me about any of the policy positions that he has. We could take another one, actually. Let's look at his policy on nuclear power.
I gave the Prime Minister a good innings in the last set of policies, so perhaps we can be brief with...
Speaker, you're absolutely right. It's best not to talk about the opposition policy because, frankly, those are policies better for an opposition, not a government. But let me just tell the right honourable gentleman, we will continue with policies for a strong economy, not the boom and bust of the Tory years, for investment in our health service and education, for family-friendly policies, for investment in Sure Start and the New Deal and lifting pensioners out of poverty. We will continue with the policies that have made this country stronger, fairer and better, and not what brought us 18 years of Conservative misrule.